I see you. You are a superwoman, but you will never admit it because you are too humble and you never make a big deal about anything you do. You are an overachiever, but you will never call yourself that because nothing you have done is a big deal for you and you still want to achieve more. You have a tendency to give and give and give until there's nothing left inside you, and either you collapse and crash in exhaustion or you snap in rebellion. And you have a very high bar for what you think is right and what you think is perfection, and you are harder on yourself than anybody else in the world. Sometimes it feels it's hard to get up in the morning just because of the high expectations you have of yourself. I know because I have been there. Hi, my name is Pichardo-Johansson. I'm a physician, life coach, and author. I'm also a mother of 4 children, including twins with special needs. Happy wife of my soulmate after having been happily divorced. Now I'm happily married. And I almost forgot, a recent cancer survivor. I am a storyteller, so to tell you who I am, because none of those titles will tell you anything, I'm going to start by telling you a story. And I know many of you super women in the world there may find some similarities in your life in the past or in the present. About 10 years ago, about a decade ago, a little more, I had finally finished my medical training. You know how ridiculous these are: medical school, internship, residency, an extra master's in clinical investigation. Yes, I needed an intervention. I needed someone to tell me, please, you need Overachievers Anonymous. I had finally finished a gazillion years of training. I was making a 6-figure salary for the first time in my life. And that wasn't enough. Latin American mentality that you need to have the children done soon. I had 4 beautiful children, including twins. And in the outside, my life was perfect, but I was unhappy. I was restless the best days, miserable the worst. I felt something was missing. I felt that wasn't me. I was living someone else's life. I felt there was a parallel dimension somewhere where the real me was living, and if I didn't do something fast, I was going to miss that, and I was going to stay trapped in that life I was living. So my mother used to say, when God taps you with the right hand on the shoulder, you better listen so he doesn't have to smack you on the head with the left hand. Everything in my life started going wrong. My marriage was collapsing. I had been trying to save it for years. I had been trying to really killing myself trying to make that marriage work, no matter how miserable I was. My job was collapsing. My daughter, the one with the worst special needs, was having horrible health issues, seizures, needing a feeding tube, hospital admissions. And I was, at that moment in my life, that was my version of touching bottom. If there is one message you walk out of this video with today, I want it to be this: pay attention to when God is tapping you on the shoulder. We super women, we don't touch bottom the usual style. Oh, I went bankrupt, I got drunk, slept on the gutter, shoot a little heroin, and then I redid my life. No, we don't do that. We keep going until we are almost dying. We don't touch bottom that way. We are too in control of our lives and control of our bodies and control of our works. So the way we touch bottom is when the way God taps us on the shoulder is when we start receiving in our lives all these things that we have no control of. If right now in your life you happen to be dealing with something that is out of your control and incredibly frustrating, for example, a pandemic, be happy. That is your opportunity to reinvent your life. That is God tapping you on the shoulder, maybe smacking you a little bit. So at that time, about a decade or so ago, I started a journey inwards. I realized that until then, I had just followed commands, followed instructions, the instructions of my my teachers, my professors, my parents, my religious leaders. I was I had lost contact with my inner voice. I had lost contact with my inner compass. And everything started with looking at what I really wanted, who I really was, because I had forgotten it, reconnecting with my real self. And the first hard decision was, I'm going to get the first F of my life, but I cannot continue this unhealthy relationship anymore. And I fought it with all my heart, and I can happily say I am not a pro divorce person. I am a pro authentic happiness person. I can honestly say I did everything, and I walk out of there knowing I hadn't done any. I hadn't. There was not one thing I hadn't done, but taking the decision to say we are done. This marriage has to come to an end. Nobody had to cheat on anybody. No drama had to happen. Well, there's always drama in divorces, but and walking out of there was one of the biggest, hardest decisions of my life, and also one of the best things that ever happened in my life. That was just the first step of the journey. The next step, I had to ask myself, what do you really want? For the first time in my life, dearly, I didn't have my parents anymore. I didn't have my husband anymore. What do you really want? And the answer first came, I want girlfriends. I haven't had friends, sisterhood in a very long time. I want friendships. The next step was, I want to go to Europe. The next step was, I want love. I had never fallen in love for real in my life. One of the reasons why I ended my marriage at the end was because you cannot fix something that never worked. I had never really been in love. I didn't know what falling head over heels in love was, and that was my first thing. My third thing, I want to find my soulmate. And at the time, many people around me, reflecting my inner voices, told me, you're crazy. You are a woman in your mid to late 30s, a mother of four, two kids with special needs, a daughter with a feeding tube. You're not going to find a man who's going to want to carry that baggage. And I lived in a retirement town in Florida where there was no single men around, and the ones who didn't want to date a doctor. It was uh, everything was seemed to be impossible, and I proved the pessimists wrong. I am now happily married with David, my soulmate, the love of my life, and that's a long story. I'll have to tell you someday. And that was just the beginning. My journey is far from over. That was just the first step. Later on, it was a matter of reconnecting again with my creativity and becoming a writer. I've published 8 books since then. Number 9, my first self-help book, is in editing process now. After that, it was the process of reevaluating my career and realizing I had made the exact same mistakes when choosing my career and when staying in it that I had made when I chose my first husband, not listening to my inner voice, trying to force myself to love something I wasn't loving. And did I mention I was a hematologist oncologist, and becoming a cancer patient while you are a hematologist oncologist is kind of a funny story. I'll have to tell you some other day. But the thing is that my life is far from perfect. It's still a work in progress, but I was able to create miracles in my life. And everything started with 3 steps. And I want you to pay attention because those are the steps we're going to touch more in the future video blogs, in the future um, episodes. The first step was reconnecting with myself. What did I really want? What was I really feeling at every single every given moment. And it is harder than you think after you have spent your whole life following checklists. My life had been a never ending checklist of milestones I had to complete. And now I had to reconnect with there's no map anymore. What do I want to do? Then, after you reconnect with yourself, then you decide that's step number two, what exactly I want in my life. Complete clarity. And then that will unavoidably trigger our resistance in our inner blocks. And that's step number three. Releasing those blocks we have. From the blocks of thinking we don't deserve it to the blocks of the inner blocks of having conflicted voices inside us giving us different information. So it is possible miracles happen and you deserve to be happy in your life. And that's the last part of my story. A couple of years ago, I saw myself, hematologist, oncologist, facing a cancer diagnosis, and for about 72 hours thinking I was metastatic. My days were numbered and I was going to die. And do you know what crossed my mind when I was digesting the process that in theory I had metastatic cancer and I was dying? Thank you, God. Thank God I hadn't stayed in that unhappy relationship. Thank God I had found my inner voice. Thank God I had gone to Europe. Thank God I had met David. Thank God we had traveled so much together because life is short. If there is a second thing that you get out of this video today that I want you to nail in your brain is life is short. We cannot live life for what someone else is going to think, for what the society is telling us we're supposed to be doing, for anything. We only can live life for what we really want, what we really long for. And the third thing I want you to get from this video today is that three-step process that we will be elaborating on more in future videos. Step number one, reconnect with what you really want. Step number two, clarify exactly what you really want. And step number three, work on releasing the blocks. I'm not telling you anything new. I'm sure you have heard this before. But I am here to tell you it works and it's worth it. Waking up every day knowing I am doing I'm working and everything I'm doing is in harmony with my real self, with my authentic self, and knowing that all my choices are guided by my core values is one of the best, most joyful experiences of my life. Any hard moment that I have lived in my life was worth it. And by the way, I almost forgot. My daughter's health has benefited tremendously. As a physician, I've always been a believer in the mind body spirit connection and how our lack of joy and our suffering can reflect in us losing our health. Well, I take that farther. I think that our unhappiness can reflect on the health of our loved ones. So if you don't do it for yourself, do it for them. Because when you are joyful, when you are living the life you are supposed to live, when you are fully satisfied, working in alignment with your true self, you will have more energy to give. You will have a lot more to bring to the world. Thank you. If you like this video, please repost it. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your comments. Thank you.